Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Badass Revere, and today I'll be taking a look at the Marvel Legends Infinite Series Ant-Man from the new Ant-Man movie that's getting ready to come out in the next week. This is part of the, I guess it's technically the Ant-Man Infinite Series. I don't know how they go about naming these, but we'll just call them the Ant-Man Legends. Pretty nice figure. I'm pretty happy about this guy. He's not a perfect figure, but I think he looks pretty darn good, and I mean, if you don't have the Select, I would say this is probably the next best thing. Although the Select is a little bit bigger in size, which would be fine since he's a size morpher. But I'm not sure if he's going to turn into Giant Man, so I don't know if it makes sense for him to be bigger than he's supposed to. But anyways, so this is the figure we get for the movie. He is pretty accurate to how he looks in the trailer for the most part. There are some differences and a couple things that I will point out and kind of complain about, but for the most part he looks pretty cool. I like the sculpt work they have here for the tubing, or however you want to, whatever it's called, going throughout his body. He's got some nice line work going on throughout the torso. There's a lot of sculpting going on in the upper part of the body here, and then there's more of the sculpted on tubing throughout his body, which I don't know if the color, if he's completely painted how he should be in the movie, so I'm gonna look that up, and I might paint him up a little bit in some of these orange spots. So the head sculpt, it looks pretty good for the most part. The biggest complaint I have about it is the fact that his mouth is showing, which I don't know if that's accurate to the movie, but I would prefer that the mouthpiece be covered up, kind of like how you usually see it. So I'm probably gonna mod it so that way I can push this piece up and cover up his mouth, which I've seen some people do. I don't know how technically to do it, but maybe I'll do a instruction video on how to. But so yeah, that's kind of a problem for me. It looks kind of silly, and I don't know, he just looks kind of goofy that way, so I'll probably try and fix that if I can. Hopefully it goes alright. And then for the eyes, instead of being red, they made it orange, which looks kind of silly because they should be like a translucent red in the movie, which I understand you can't really do that on this figure, but at least they could have made it red to make it look a little bit better. I would have been fine with this dark red here, so I'll probably paint that red. And then he's got some orange down here in the wrist as well, and on his belt, which I think I will also try and paint red just to make it look a little bit better. I think it would look a lot better that way, instead of having this random orange throughout his body. So anyways, there's some sculpting on the neck piece here. There's no paint or shading anything like that on there, but there is some sculpting. He's got this little thing sticking out the back of his neck here, which I think is supposed to have wires that connect to his helmet in the movie, but obviously that's not there. Yeah, and the paint work otherwise is pretty good. It's mostly it looks like they just kind of painted over the black with red, which I think looks pretty nice. It kind of gives it like a leathery look to it. So I think it actually looks pretty good, so I like the way the red came out. There's not really any sloppy paint going on anywhere. Mostly the black is just a matted finish. I think it's mostly just sculpted, or not sculpted, but molded that way, so it looks good. But yeah, so there's no real detail going on there. Coming down to his forearms, he's got these little wrist guards, which again, they're painted orange, and I think I'm going to go through and paint them red, which they have some pretty nice detail and some nice shading going on there. He has two hands that are opened, no interchangeable hands unfortunately, so he's kind of always got these like open hands, like he wants to grab some apples or something. So I kind of wish there would have been some interchangeable hands, but unfortunately there wasn't. And the little button on his hand is sculpted, that's supposed to allow him to shrink and grow. It's sculpted on there, but it's not painted, so I'll probably go through and kind of just add a little red dot right there to, you know, make it look more accurate. Coming down to the legs, there's not a whole lot going on with the legs. He's pretty much just got the red line painted here on the side, and then on the back he's got red on the back of his calves. But other than that, he's just got pretty plain looking legs. They're sculpted and everything, but there's no real shading, which I feel like there's a lot of detail in the paint missing from this figure, because I feel like there's a lot more gray and silver on him. So I'm gonna look that up later and see, and probably paint him up a little bit so he doesn't look so bland. But for the most part, he's a pretty decent figure. We'll go over the articulation real quick. The head is on a ball peg swivel, so his head can look up, but it gets hindered by the back piece here, the little tube sticking out of his neck. You probably could chop those off if you want and give him a little bit more, but then you kind of take away from the detail of the figure. But his head can look down a really good amount, rotates 360 degrees. His arms can go in and out, rotate 360 degrees, they're on ratchets. He's got a bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, a hinge in the wrist, as well as a swivel. He's got an ab crunch, which goes a little bit forward and not so much back, so it almost seems kind of pointless. But take it as you will. He's got a waist swivel, which it feels kind of like it's, well, I think it's rubbing up against his belt here, which I didn't talk about, but I think it's glued on. As far as I can tell, it doesn't move or anything. It's a soft rubbery plastic though, because it does move back when you rotate the body like this. So it looks good though, and it doesn't get in the way, so that's fine. His legs can go forward quite a bit. They can go back. They can go in and out about that far. He rotates at the upper part of the thigh, double jointed knees, a hinge in the foot, and ankle pivots. And I think these legs are, I feel like they're new. I think they would have to be, since it's a movie figures and usually they have a unique sculpt. But at the same time, I feel like these legs have been used before, but I can't think of where they'd be from if they were. So I'm not sure. They look familiar, but as far as I know, they're new. But he comes with 2 accessories. Well, I guess technically 3. He comes with this tiny little Yellow Jacket figure, which is probably the only figure form of this character we're gonna get from Marvel Legends. So there's that. He comes with this giant ant, which, well, I guess it's giant to the small version of him, but it's a pretty big ant. So it comes with that. It's not really painted, and it doesn't really have any articulation. I guess the wings are painted gold, but that's about it. And then he comes with a little mini Ant-Man figure, which you can set on the ant for him to ride, which I see a lot of people put him on the neck of the ant, but I'm pretty sure he would most likely sit on the back like this. But I don't know how he rides in the movie. So I mean, it looks good either way. I guess it's up to preference, but yeah, so there's that. So that's cool. It's not very it wouldn't really fit in well in scale wise just because it's so big. But obviously it's to, you know, it's for the small Ant-Man, so it's still cool either way. But that's about it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the review. Stay tuned for more figures coming out of this wave, and check out my previous figure reviews from before. And I'll talk to you guys later.